I'll start. I think, tell me if you agree with this. I feel like in our industry, everybody knows Pinterest, but I wonder if you run into the CMO or the ad buyer that still doesn't totally grasp, like, oh, that's the thing where people pin. I don't use it every day. What is the behavior like there? What is Pinterest really all about? Who are you guys? Like, how do you explain who you are?
Yeah, what is Pinterest?
Yes.
It's
an existential question.
It's a very important question. I think a lot of times people confuse Pinterest as a social network and think of it as in the same ways they think about other social networks. And the truth is, when you talk to users about how they use Pinterest, what's clear is that it's really about themselves. It's about what they call kind of me time. And the words we hear when people talk about their experience is that they're coming to Pinterest to plan. They're planning things like what are they going to make for dinner, or what are they going to wear, kind of these kind of everyday things in life, but also these kind of big life moments. This could be, you're getting married, or you're having a child, or traveling the world, or renovating your home. All of these are use cases for how people use the platform. And so, our mission, what we describe is how do we help people discover new ideas when they're in this kind of early stages of their discovery process, and then how do we help them go do that in their real life? And I think it's just really different than an entertainment platform or a platform where you connect with your friends or where you get your news. That's not our purpose. Our purpose is to help with the discovery process and then ultimately get people off of Pinterest to go do things in their real life. And I think that's a really different value proposition than maybe some people think.
So there are elements of social networks which I think people stick you in, because you can follow people, you can connect with friends, but do most, I don't know if you can generalize, do most people on Pinterest follow tons of users and connect with tons of friends, or is it mostly small groups, clusters? What does it look like?
I think that the difference in the following behavior is really centered around people's tastes and people's similar interests. And so, for instance, I don't follow many of my friends on Pinterest because they have terrible taste. Instead, I follow people in different categories that I think have great taste that match my visual aesthetic. It might be in fashion, it might be in decor, it might be in travel, whatever. And that's how you use the platform. But even if you don't follow people, Pinterest kind of learns more and more about what you're interested in, what your personal taste is, and then the whole service just becomes a reinforcing mechanism to personalize the types of things you might be interested in. So even if you don't follow people, you can still get a really personalized experience.
So in the ad community, because you guys have had to tell your story for a few years. You've only been selling ads since 2014, I think.
Correct.
Where did you maybe start, and have you found your lane yet? Because people want to put you in buckets, they want to put you in test budgets or social or search or whatever.
Yeah, I think the starting point for the company was to say we have a lot of women on the platform in particular who you can reach, and these different categories of interest are obviously an area of strength for, call it food, home, beauty, style, those kind of categories. I would say that we were probably more of a brand platform when we first started. Over the last 2 years, we've really anchored on leveraging what we think is our unique strength, which is the intent on the platform. And what we have, I think that is different than others, is these earliest signals or earliest signs of intent that you really can't get other places. Because think about it, if you go to Amazon and advertise there, or even Google to some extent, you're probably reaching somebody who's at the end stages of their decision-making process. For us, we reach people at the very early stages. What we talk to a lot of marketers about is, I can tell you that 100,000 people started planning for a home renovation yesterday. To Home Depot or Lowe's or companies like that. That's super interesting. Or that women are starting to plan for their fall fashion or for holiday decorating. And finding those people before they've already decided what brand they're going to go with is one of the really big challenges that marketers are facing, because if they're not in that consideration set at the early stages, there's high likelihood that they're never going to win them on Amazon or Google. in the downstream kind of places where you would ultimately convert. So I think the story is, we can be very complementary to your direct response, your kind of last click direct response efforts, because we reach people at this early stage of the decision-making process when they're undecided about what brand we can go with.
So you're kind of in the middle of the funnel, I guess. Like you're not necessarily telling people about, you're not the place where people find out about products they never knew they wanted. Necessarily, maybe.
Well, yes, no, they do. I would say that, one advertiser told us, you guys should own Middle Earth, which I didn't know what Middle Earth was, to be honest with you. I didn't read Lord of the Rings, apparently. It's really but what they were saying is that you should own this consideration, mindset. I think that, Amazon and Google, kind of really own that bottom of the funnel, and I think TV and Facebook are great for reach. What we're really good at is reaching people when they're just at the beginning of their consideration process. And so, yes, we can expose people to products or services that they hadn't considered before, and ultimately prove that interaction, that exposure, people saving their content, ultimately led to somebody converting. And I think in this environment, what brands are troubled by and what they see potential in Pinterest is that they need to grow. Like, they need to find new customers. They need to find new growth that isn't about kind of competing at the very, very bottom of the funnel every single time. They need to introduce introduce new customers to the brand. And I think that's what we probably do best.
So who's given that positioning, whose budget where does that budget usually come from? Is it the direct, do you talking to the direct guys, the brand guys, the social people?
Yeah, I think, yes, all of those. I think philosophically speaking, there isn't a huge consideration budget in and of itself today. I don't think that's the way that marketers largely think about things. And so what we've been talking to the industry about is, hey, either your direct response budgets need to come up, if you will, and think about how do you reach people earlier in that decision-making process, or your brand budgets, which is probably more likely. Your brand budgets need to start with all the intent and high consideration surfaces first, and then you can go after broad reach after that. But I think that's probably where most of our budgets are coming from. I will say, though, that in conversations with CMOs, most of the time they just say, hey, we're going to have a Pinterest strategy, and we're going to figure out where it comes from, but we fundamentally understand the value proposition, and that's the most important starting point.
I imagine Pinterest, people will say this about Snap and about Instagram, you need to have a specific strategy, specific ads. Like you can't just port over what you're doing with display advertising or whatever else, right? I'm guessing. That's accurate.
Because, again, if you think about the user behavior on the platform, what they're trying to do is they're trying to find new ideas. Like that's the discovery process that I mentioned before, the purpose of the platform. If you just ported over your TV ads or Snap ads or other types of ad formats, it just wouldn't work. We think about how do we make the ads as utilitarian as possible, and how do we make discovery, an awesome experience. I think that discovery of new content has been something that has lived in kind of the offline world. Think about going to a store. That's how you discovered products. You'd walk into Target or Costco, and you end up walking out with a ton more things than you ever thought you walked in for. And same thing would happen with catalogs. That's how people discovered new products in the past. And I think what we're building is something that helps you discover things in the digital world that are personalized and right for you. So the right content has to be brought into that experience.
Are there some nuances, unique tactics that work on Pinterest people might not expect, or things are there rules of thumb that you give brands that are kind of getting to know with?
Well, I'd say two things. One is that search is actually a huge part of the platform. We have billions of searches a month, and people, the interesting thing about that, though, is that people aren't searching for brands. That's not the use case for the platform. So people are actually, 97% of our searches have absolutely no brand associated with it.
So they don't know what they want yet.
They don't know what they want. They're looking for ideas.
Yeah.
And so we see a lot of success in advertisers who, are showing maybe that product in context of the scene or in context of a look. For instance, a lot of our home improvement advertisers will take a couch and they'll put it in a living room scene, or a fashion company will take a sweater and put it on the model so that you can actually see what it looks like. And it's the visual nature of that platform. I think that's really important. So that's number one. Number two, I think the thing that really progressive advertisers are doing on the platform is they're spotting trends, and they're identifying the things that are popping early on Pinterest before they're popping anyplace else. And we publish something called the Pinterest 100, which are the top 100 trends in each of the categories. And we see things much earlier than other platforms. And so,
what's been popping recently that we might not expect or something?
So I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I am way out of my depth on this, I will tell you, but marble nails, is this a thing? Ladies, anybody?
Sure.
Okay. Marble nails.
Not Marvel nails.
Marble.
That would be cool.
So I'm not even going to try to explain it, but go to Pinterest and check it out. But marble nails is something that's happening on the platform. In fashion, off-the-shoulder sweaters or blouses were happening last year. So what we do is we take those emerging trends, and as soon as we see it, we go to our partners and say, you need to go create content that matches this trend. So literally, it's the insight on what people are pinning about, what are we seeing as the emerging searches in the platform, and then how do we match a content strategy that literally just connects directly into that trend, and that makes the advertising as relevant and utilitarian as possible.
That's interesting. Broadly speaking in the industry, there's a bunch of big macro trends you guys are probably facing. There's the duopoly stealing all the money. What do we do? Oh my God, Google and Facebook took over. Then there's this, I think, moment of reckoning for digital media maybe that you've seen, like these big brands, they know that TV is not what it used to be in terms of live ratings. They probably want to move more money, but then I think, tell me if you agree, you had the YouTube brand safety thing and the Facebook counting things come at exactly the wrong time, and you saw the TV upfront actually go, okay, where do you guys, are you hearing, and then there's this like push for transparency and cleaning, where the hell are my ads running, where's my money going? Do you have those conversations with CMOs all the time? What's the climate like right now? And
so
how do you?
You're saying it's a mess, right?
Well, there's a lot of uncertainty, disarray, perhaps.
I mean, I think as we talk to CMOs, there are a couple things on their mind, right? One is, I was actually really inspired by the conversation that Mark Pritchard had at Demexco this year, calling on the industry to, yes, viewability, fraud, waste is an absolutely important issue in the industry, and we should tackle that head on. But he called on the industry, all of us, to go create the next generation of digital advertising ads that actually are a benefit to the user. And I think this notion of utility of ads is going to be a really important issue going forward. I think if we as an industry keep, using some of the old models of interrupting users, of kind of putting the TV model into new digital experiences, it feels like that's not a winning formula. I think the winning formula actually is inspired by Google AdWords. Nobody talks about that as kind of the first true utilitarian ad format, but they pioneered what we think of as the next generation of digital ads. And what we're trying to do is make it such that our advertisers' ads are so helpful in this discovery process that they don't even think about it as advertising.
Right, they're very welcome. They're not
exactly.
They're not interrupting.
I think there's a lot of interest on the duopoly point. Again, both of those companies are phenomenal and have such a great value proposition. But I think there is an interest in finding new players who can help them with their business objectives. Most importantly, like that is they're not going to diversify for diversity's sake. They're going to do it if you actually have a value proposition. And so I think ours is unique, and there's a lot of interest in it.
If I talked to advertisers maybe a year and a half ago about Pinterest, they would say really interesting. Not everybody, but some would say it's really interesting, but they're not moving fast enough for me. They would maybe fair or not compare you guys to Snap, which was racing towards an IPO and rolling out a crazy amount of products and measurement. Do you still get that? Like, we want to do more with you, and we want more products and data and measurement, or have you guys largely solve that challenge?
I mean, I think it's fair criticism. In the past, we really took that, and I feel like over the last 2 years we've cranked up the engine, and we've hired a lot of people. We've put all the measurement partners in place that are needed. Again, took advantage of the thing that we weren't in the beginning, and I think that's a fair criticism, which is, again, the incredible user intent that we have on the platform. And I think now we're there, and so I don't hear that as much anymore, which is good to hear.
Putting aside advertising on pictures, we'll come back to that, but talk to me about, you guys are at the forefront of computer vision, things I pretend to understand, like you're going to be able to be in the real world and take pictures of things and find comparable items, maybe buy them.
Yeah.
You've got something really interesting you're doing with Target. Maybe just kind of take us through.
Sure. I mean, if you think about the platform, one of the benefits that's really unique is the visual nature of the platform. Again, if you are searching for things and you don't know exactly the words to describe it, but you know it when you see it, that's what's special about Pinterest. And so I would say a couple things. One is that we think that canvas is a really interesting canvas to be able to do more advanced computer vision technology things with our advertising and with the core user experience. Earlier this year, we launched something called Shop a Look on Pinterest as an organic experience, not an advertising experience, that enables you to take an image and then understand the products that are inside of that image. And so you'll see, if you use the service, you'll see a bunch of little white or blue dots that are the products inside that image. And people are able to then click on that dot, and the entire search experience becomes about that product. And so we're taking in feeds from retailers, from our partners, to annotate products on top of images. And we think this is a really interesting space. We think there's a big advertising opportunity for this in the future. But right now, it's I think, a really interesting space for us to take kind of our existing product as it stands today and make it just more immersive for you to go discover the products that are inside of an image. I think the next step of that is to take this computer vision technology to the camera. And we believe the camera is the new keyboard when it comes to search. And so what we're piloting is with Lens. Lens is the product that we're talking about. You can take a picture of something when you walk into somebody's home, or heck, if you like somebody's shoes sitting next to you, you can go into the Pinterest app, hit the little camera icon, and it'll bring up a Lens experience that enables you to take a picture of Mike's shoes. I don't know how I would describe those, right?
Yeah, they're sort of. I'm trying to tell the audience that I'm a very serious businessman, but I'm also a digital guy. I'm cool.
Right.
I'm still not.
You're a hipster.
Rapidly aging hipster. Yeah, that's what I'm going for with that.
But it's formal, kind of patent leather hipster, right? So
jeans and blazer. You get it.
I got you. But I don't know how I would describe that in a search engine. So I think the notion that you can actually take a picture of something and then see that product or related products that look like that is what that technology enables you to do. And so we're really excited about this. We think this is a really groundbreaking technology. You may know that this is actually baked into the Samsung S8, so that when you take a picture in the Samsung S8, you have the opportunity to go explore Pinterest for more ideas that look like that product that you've taken a picture of. So we took this technology, and in our discussions with Target, what the business problem that they wanted to help solve was, how do they innovate in their stores, and how do they make the guest experience as immersive as possible? So throughout the course of our discussions with them, they were really inspired by this technology, and we agreed to allow them to put this in their app. So when you go to Target, you can browse through the store, and you can take a picture of something in the store and see more things from Target specifically that are like that. And so again, they have inventory in home and beauty and in fashion that they can't put all in the store. So it's really kind of weaving this omni-channel shopping experience in place for the user. They're going to do a lot of things in store to prompt people to use the technology. So we're really excited about this, about the potential use cases in retail and beyond. But this is a really good partnership that we're excited about.
And that theoretically that should appeal to potentially a lot more people that maybe maybe folks that are they're not interested in pinning stuff and creating board, they might want to use that just in their daily life.
Sure. I mean, I could see them just exploring new stuff as they're in their physical world,
Yes.
right?
Time is flying. Do we want to take some audience questions? Does anybody out there want to?
Hi. So first off, I love the platform. I'm just curious, since this is about mobile, and so I find myself using the platform frequently on large screens, right? So it's more friendly to the images and so on. So how do you see the difference in using different devices, and specifically how are people using it on phones that's different from how they use it on, say, desktop or tablet?
Yeah, the question is around the usage and different devices. You may be in the minority, I'm happy to say. We have 80% of our users are actually on the mobile device, the vast majority in the app. And when we look at our search activity, the vast majority, 85% of it or something like that, is on the mobile device. And as you can see, this, where we're taking the product, lens technology is only something you can do with your phone because, again, the camera becomes the way in which to experience that. So I think this is already big. It's going to become a pretty prominent and a more important way of experiencing Pinterest in the future as well. Thank you.
All right, that's it, guys. Unfortunately, we're out of time. That was quick, but thanks so much, John. Great
Thanks.
conversation.